Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins, and I want to welcome you to DrBoyceTV.com, the home for intelligent Black people. So, if you're not Black and intelligent, you may want to get out of here. This is a place where we have freedom of speech and freedom of expression, and we have a free exchange of ideas. So, today I want to quickly talk about President Barack Obama. Former President Obama made a statement on The Hill, which is a publication that talks about politics, and he made a statement about defunding the police. So Obama uh, had some things to say about that, and I'm going to kind of break this down. So get comfortable, hit the thumbs up button, hit the share button, hit the subscribe button. We're going to get started right now.
Here we are, clan the isms, cataclysm, great. Our people out here struggling, trying to make it in this state. Everybody out here doing it, but we the ones too late. Now family, we the ones who gotta delegate. Get that money in the power, never be fake. Stick to co-sign for 3. What did he say? Create jobs, support our own. Educate the same and buy back your home. Got 3 degrees, triple 10. 3 PhDs, now we on the CNN. DrBoyceTV, let's talk about negligence. Ignorance is bliss, but we can turn it to intelligence. Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see. Let's break it down here on DrBoyceTV. Here we are.
Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins, and welcome to DrBoyceTV.com, the home for intelligent Black people. On this platform, we believe that Black people matter. Black people come first. That's why we use the hashtag #B1. Put the hashtag #B1 in the chat if you agree with this philosophy that our community needs to go first and be first. In fact, we are bashing our way to economic success. BASH stands for, I want you to write this down, type the word BASH. We're going to bash down the walls of equality and strength and empowerment by basically doing these things. BASH stands for Buy Black. The A stands for, oh my goodness, what does the A stand for? Acquire real estate, is that right? The S stands for stock market participation. The H stands for home ownership. That's it. So we're going to bash our way to empowerment. And the word bash is something literally, that's an acronym I literally just came up with today. And so I'm putting together something I call the bash and build model. So we're going to that we can make ourselves strong again, make Black people great the way we're supposed to be. And I do believe that basic things like buying Black, acquiring assets like real estate, etc., also owning homes, starting businesses, things like that will put us ahead. So let's make it happen. And thank you guys for Ann and D'Angelo and Ashley and Tiffany. I'll get it right next time. Now let me know if you guys can hear me okay. Give me a yes or no if you can hear me all right. Let's see. Andrew says volume shut off for you, Boyce. I hope that my volume isn't disappearing. Let me know, because I'm talking on my phone right now. I'm using this app, and hopefully there won't be an issue. All right. So here's the deal. So let's talk about Barack Obama. Yeah, Wayne says that we have an obsession with Obama. Well, maybe you're obsessed with me, Wayne. So you should probably get out of here. So just go ahead and go away. If you think that I am obsessed and you think that I am over talking the issue, then you probably shouldn't be here. This is not the place for you. You don't have to be here. You know, slavery did end 150 years ago. But here's the issue. So Barack Obama does an interview with The Hill. And in The Hill, he says, and this is an interesting title. The title of the article is that you lose people, this is according to Obama, you lose people with snappy slogans like defund the police. And so the title got my attention. The title pissed a lot of people off. But here's one of the things I kind of want you guys to consider is that, you know, you got to be real careful on the internet, because a lot of people like to just read the title and react to the title. I don't think that is good for you. I don't think that's good for the world. And my 2 cents is that rather than just reading the title and reacting to the title, I encourage you to actually read the article. So with Obama, just out of fairness, again, you know, even though I'm not a big fan of the Obama presidency, I thought it was a big ball of nothing for Black people. It was a big ball of symbolism. I think it is out of fairness for him, because he's not a stupid man, to at least hear what he has to say. So I read this article, and I thought it was interesting when he says you lose people with snappy slogans like defund the police. I can get what he's saying, but let me ask you this. Give me a yes or no. I'm gonna name a couple other slogans. Tell me if these sound like snappy slogans to you. Hope and change. Hope and change. What does that mean anyway? Hope and change. Anybody remember that from 2008? I mean, the man became, the first biracial president off that snappy slogan, right? So that snappy slogan, I mean, that got him into the White House. Hope and change. Nobody knew what the hell that meant, but that was nice and snappy, and that's what politicians do. They like those snappy little catchphrases that don't mean much of anything, so they can mean anything that you want the listener to believe that it means. And then 2012. Can anybody tell me what Obama's snappy little slogan was for 2012? Tell me what his snappy slogan was. Can anybody type it in here? Musu, Shasha. Anybody know what Obama's snappy slogan was for 2012? Anybody remember? See if somebody can guess it. By the way, hit the thumbs up button while we wait. Make sure you hit the thumbs up button. Make sure you subscribe. What was his slogan in 2012? Anybody remember? Was it that unremarkable? No, it wasn't. Yes, we can. Now that was part of it, but he was hoping change, and yes, we can. I forgot about that. That was 2008. 2012, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it was forward. Just the word forward. Anybody remember that? Where you just had the word forward, and you're like, what does that mean exactly? I know that means we need to go forward, but what does that mean? So here's the thing. These snappy slogans. That's how people run for office. That's how people run campaigns. And so I think that it's a little bit disingenuous to say, oh, well, defund the police is just a silly, snappy slogan, and I'm going to step in and I'm going to correct you, but I'm not actually going to help you actually solve the problem. And I think that's the challenge with Obama. My question is, what exactly are you here for? What do you do? Why do you exist? Obama has a new book out. I think it's called The Promised Land or something. Again, more promises, more hoping, more change, more forward, more yes, we can, right? And so he's got this new book, and he's trying to sell this book. And I get that, right? You got to go do interviews to sell a book. And I'm not mad at the man for making his money, but I think that the question becomes, what do Black people get out of the deal? What in the world were you so excited about? What did you think was going to really happen? And what were you even looking for? Did you even know what you were looking for with this man's presidency? So let me read some of his article. Do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button. I'm going to pull this article up. Hit the thumbs up button. Make sure you subscribe. And also, don't forget, you can text the word "boyce" to 31996 to get text alerts a couple times a week. I'll let you guys know what's going on. Text "boyce" to 31996. We need other ways to get in touch with each other in case they ban the rest of my YouTube channels. they didn't ban Your Black World, but for a week I can't post anything on that platform because I shared a Farrakhan speech. And of course, that they've decided somehow that Farrakhan is evil and bad and scary because he's actually an intelligent Black man who stands up for Black people. So that's what it is. All right. So here's what it says. It says former President Obama said political candidates lose support when using snappy slogans like defund the police in an interview scheduled to be released Wednesday. Obama told Peter Hamby, who hosts a Snapchat political show, Good Luck America, that those who use the slogan could jeopardize their goals of enacting meaningful reforms for police. Quote, "You lost a big audience the minute you say it, which makes it a lot less likely that you're actually going to get the changes that you want done." The former president said, "The key is deciding, do you want to actually get something done, or do you want to feel good among the people you already agree with?" Now, I don't think that what Obama said there is necessarily all that terrible. I'm not going to lie. I agree with him. I'm a big believer in getting things done. I think that the frustration, though, is that because of politics, politics is the ultimate divide and conquer in the Black community. So because of politics, Black people weren't able to actually really communicate with Obama. Most of the Black people around Obama were people who didn't identify with what the Black community was going through. Most of the Black people that really influenced his policy were people that pretty much, felt that Black people needed to be told to sit down and shut up and be happy that this dark-looking man was in the White House, and basically eat up all the symbolism when people need to eat up food. And so when you were talking about the Obama presidency, the reason I see it as a big ball of symbolism and nothingness is because whenever it came time to solve an important economic problem for the Black community, he didn't invite actual experts in to work this out with him. He would bring in people like Al Sharpton. And the reason he brought in Al Sharpton is because Al Sharpton can be bought with a bucket of chicken. Al Sharpton is the ultimate yes man. Al Sharpton would show up, with perm in hand. He got his little hairbrush. He's combing his perm, and he's waiting for them to put a couple of pieces of Popeye's chicken in his bags that he could take back to the congregation, and he would go there and pretend to be solving the problem. And the big issue that I think a lot of Black folks had is that it's just very unfortunate that we are at the top of your priority list when it comes to manipulating us for our vote, but we're not at the top of your priority list when it comes to solving the very specific problem that Black people have. Black people were specifically selected for slavery. We are owed money for that. Black people were specifically selected for 250 years of extreme theft and oppression. We deserve compensation for that. Black people were specifically selected for 100 years of Jim Crow. We deserve compensation for that. Black people were specifically selected by people like Joe Biden for mass incarceration. We deserve to be compensated for that. Black people we specifically had our wealth stolen. We deserve compensation for that. So what's really interesting is that they can't acknowledge that. I mean, I don't know, tell me yes or no. Have you ever heard Barack Obama say the word reparations in public? Have you ever heard him say the word reparations ever at any point in public? Give me a yes or no if you've ever. I've never heard Obama say the word reparations ever. And I just want you to kind of process this a little bit, that these people who claim to be your friends can't even speak on what is arguably the number one issue in the Black community. Give me a yes or no in the chat if you think Black people deserve reparations. Give me a yes or no if you think Black people deserve reparations for 250 years of slavery, 100 years of Jim Crow, another 50 years of mass incarceration. Give me a yes or no. Because here's the thing. The answer is going to be overwhelmingly yes. I know that they will be. So the Black people I see, the real Black people that are on the street, Black people that are living in the world, all agree that we're owed reparations. So why is it that you have these highfalutin Negroes going off to Washington, supposedly representing you, begging for your vote, trying to condemn you for not voting, but they can't mention what is arguably the number one issue in the minds of millions of Black people? That means that they don't like you. They don't have any respect for you. And so ultimately, when I see Obama, I get very sad because I don't know who this man is. I really don't. I think he's a skilled politician, but I also hate to say it, but I have to say that he sounds like a liar, because the man comes in and he wants to preach and teach Black people. He went on the Breakfast Club and pretty much, felt the need to lecture Black people on why Black people need to sit back and accept whatever crap white people, throw at them. Right, that we need to sit back and just, realize we can't get anything done because white people don't want to do it. They're basically telling us that the best way to be successful and okay as a Black person is to accept white supremacy. But yet you come and you ask for things from Black people, but you don't offer anything. And I think that's a real problem. I really think that that this needs to be talked about more. And I think it's very unfortunate that somebody like me, that I'm coming in here talking about this, and my words are seen as radical and just volatile and crazy and chaotic, because I'm simply asking for the basics. I'm simply saying that if you give them something, they should give you something. I don't understand why that is a problematic message. The only conclusion I can come to is that, when I try to understand, like, okay, if Ice Cube is representing Black people and saying Black people deserve something for their vote, and yet Black people or millions of Black people were trained to attack Ice Cube like he was the enemy, the only thing I can conclude is that it's the depth of the brainwashing of media. When they control media and they get the ability to reshape narratives and tell you lies and feed you propaganda, and then there's something about repeating the lie long enough to the point where people start to believe the lie. So ultimately, what you really see in a lot of these situations is that a lot of people just don't believe Black people have the right to talk. They kind of look at the Black community, the masses of Black people. I'm talking about the field Negroes out here. A lot of y'all, we all the field Negroes. We're the ones who won't get invited to the White House, and we're not in those little exclusive clubs, right? The House Negroes might be, maybe, I'm sure Roland Martin will be invited to the White House, Angela Rye, Joy Reid, all the little Negroes that were running around trying to shuffle up Black votes, and they were going to get the sheep. They go get the sheep. They go to the churches to get the little chubby, the little Negroes that are sitting around singing Negro spirituals, praying to white Jesus, hoping things will get better. They go to maybe the corporate Negroes, the ones who are scared to actually ask hard questions, who are committed to slavery, and those are the individuals they shepherd to vote. And what's fascinating is that it is an incredibly unintelligent conversation. It's incredibly unintelligent. It's incredibly unbrave, right? And why do I say it that way? What I mean is that you can literally tell them to go vote just because they were told to do it, and they will go do it. They'll go do it because you told them to do it, or you'll give them a stupid reason why they should vote, and they'll just go do it because there's something sheepish about the brainwashing that occurs for Black people, and it occurs through from multiple sources. It comes from education, the educational system, which is an indoctrination into white supremacy. It comes from media, which is another part of the indoctrination. Maybe it comes from corporate America, where you believe that that because these white folks are going to pay your bills, that your job is to serve them to the best of your ability, do a good job, so they'll hopefully give you a promotion. And then also through what's the last year? Oh, church. I forgot. A lot of churches are brainwashing factories. They literally breed sheep. It doesn't mean that you're a bad person if you go to church. Some of y'all go to church. There's nothing wrong with that. My daddy's a pastor. I respect that. But there's something about the stereotypical church mentality that just breeds this very basic line of thinking that almost gets angry at critical thinking, almost gets angry at anything that questions the status quo. And so what you become experts at is not thriving. You become experts at surviving. You become experts at surviving, where basically, even if you listen to songs like "Lift Every Voice and Sing," go read the lyrics to that song very carefully one day, and listen to the song. The song is very passive. It's very much built on basically bragging about the fact that we've shed a lot of blood. They kicked us in the ass. They keep coming to kill us. We're not going to say who it is because we don't want to piss off white folks. So we're not going to say the white man did this and we're going to get revenge. It says we survived, and we survived because God is going to get us through. That's that Negro by and by mentality that pretty much keeps you exactly where you are. And it also is the reason why they have no respect for you, right? So Obama, that's why, when Obama goes into the church and he sits up front and he sings the Negro spirituals, everybody stands up, they start clapping, they start cheering, because you're talking about a group of people with very low self-esteem who say, my God, Lord Jesus, the famous white man is acknowledging us. Joe Biden is my buddy because Uncle Joe, he actually says our name. He actually comes by our church. He'll eat barbecue chicken with the pastor. He'll hug the babies. He'll kiss the Black women on the forehead, right? He is our hero, right? We love this man, right? That's plantation talk. Like that's what it is. And so if you want to know why, it's going to take some work for things to evolve, is that you really need some self-esteem. That's really what it is. You don't have a lot of self-esteem in your community because basically, and Obama's lecture on the Breakfast Club was indicative of that. It was indicative of saying to the masses of Black people, look, just take what you can get. Look, you need to be happy with what you got. You need to stop trying to, aim for, true equality. You're not equal to the white man. Stop coming in here asking for what you actually deserve, because and I know that all you're going to get is what they decide you're going to get. Right. And that really is that's a kind of a line of demarcation, actually, to some extent, because the institutionalized Negro, that is his world. You are a dog in a cage. That's what you are. You're a dog in a cage. Because you will only go as far. Let me tell you a story. I'll break this down. I don't want to hurt nobody's feelings, so I'm just going to tell you the truth. If you don't get it today, you'll understand in about maybe maybe 10 years or something. I don't know. I was in college, and I remember when I was in college, I didn't like the culture that I saw from the Black people on the college campus. I didn't understand why people would spend um, more time preparing for a step show than they spend actually preparing for a math test. I didn't understand why I had friends who would put more energy into pledging a fraternity than they spent actually trying to build their future. Now, it's no disrespect to to those who are in Greek letter organizations at all, but I'm saying these are the Negroes I was around. They just didn't have any drive, any initiative. They weren't prepared to fight for anything. They just wanted to kind of go along to get along. They all knew how to sing and dance and maybe play a sport, maybe know how to get together on Friday nights and drink, but they didn't have an action plan. There was no sort of strategic preparation for the future. And that was one thing that made me into a bit of a loner. I was a loner in college. And so the loner, it tends to be the one who observes the environment. So I observed the environment. And I remember saying, I don't want to be a part of this, right? Like I want to be Black, but I need to be Black on some different terms. I want to reach for Black excellence. And I don't want black mediocrity, because black mediocrity is everywhere. That's what you're trained to pursue from the time you're born. I want black excellence. Black excellence to me means, it means one, for example, I never pursued alcohol and drugs because I saw too many black men going down, getting killed, going to prison, getting hooked on dope, becoming terrible fathers, becoming weak ass, broke ass, punk ass men because they couldn't put down a liquor bottle long enough to take care of the damn kids. I saw a lot of black men who weren't getting respected by black women because they didn't know how to fucking make a dollar without getting, without tickling a white man's balls in order to get a job or whatever. I didn't want to do that. I also didn't buy into this idea of intellectual mediocrity. I felt that it was very important to get a good education, to learn as much as I could, take in information and knowledge, so I would be prepared, when they would try to manipulate me or exploit me, right? So I remember I talked to this lady when I was on campus. She was a young girl. We were both about 19 years old, and I remember that because I was known, I became known as the student with the good grades, the kid with the good grades, because I had the highest GPA of all the black people on campus. And I remember she said something to me that I'll never forget. She said, "I don't know why you do all that studying, and you only gonna go as far as white people want you to go." And I remember being really offended, like to the point of being pissed off. And I was 19 years old, and I remember thinking, who the fuck are you to decide how far I'm gonna go? What you talking about as far as white people want me to go? What kind of defeatist nonsense is that? That's insane to me. And years later, that's where she went. She went as far as white people wanted her to go. And I thought about that statement. Literally, I've thought about that for like 25 or 30 years. I've literally thought about what she said since she said it. And what I realized is that is the training of the institutionalized Negro. The institutionalized Negro does not know how to survive outside the bubble of white supremacy. The institutionalized Negro is the one who feels that you must be educated by white people to be properly educated. The institutionalized Negro feels that only white media matters. White media will always matter more than black media. They're not going to listen to Vicky Dillard. They're going to go to MSNBC and listen to Joy Reid, and they're going to feel like Joy Reid is successful because white people gave her a job. The institutionalized Negro is never going to get this whole like stuff we're talking about, starting your own business and building wealth and family empires and all. They're not going to understand that because their elevator does not go up as high as yours. They're not able to even fathom a world where black people are in control, because they can only understand a world where white people are in control. Now, why do I bring up the mind of the institutionalized Negro when I talk about Obama's lecture on the Breakfast Club, when he was lecturing black people about being patient and understanding that the president can't do very much, and things like that? It's because I really understand who he was talking to, and the demographic of individuals where that works. That logic works for anybody who gets it. They kind of accept it. And this is the danger of integration. This is what integration did to you. This is why you got to love people like Dr. Claude Anderson, because he tells you about what life was like when there were no ceilings. He tells you about what black people were like when we actually owned the entire sports league, not when we were Negroes trying to get a job on the team or trying to get partial ownership in somebody's organization. He talks about days where black people actually owned the whole damn league and had the best athletes in the world. Seriously, we had the Negro leagues, we had our own football leagues, we had our own NASCAR, we had our own everything. And so with integration, he specifically talked about this today in the Powernomics Masterclass, where he basically said that they realized that they couldn't really compete with black folks, and they didn't want the black men, they didn't want black people, particularly black men, all coming in at once, because they felt that if we all came in at once, that critical mass would put them in danger. So what they did was they said, we'll take one at a time. That way we can control the situation. We can control the narrative. We get to build the cage and own the cage and decide how much you can move in that cage, right? Like, so if you're recruiting lions, then you only bring in one lion at a time. You don't bring in a whole pack of lions, because the pack of lions will take over the entire zoo. They'll take over the whole wildlife reserve. So you bring in one, right? And basically, what they did was, when they were bringing those one or two black people into their sports leagues, it would slowly, he said, it slowly dismantled all the institutions black people had. Or when you bring in the one or two children into the integrated school, then they start making the assumption that black children can only learn if they're sitting next to a white kid. Like, they made that assumption, and he actually explained, Dr. Claude Anderson, just how dangerous that ideology was. That a black child can only learn, process this for a minute now, that a black child can only learn if he's sitting next to a white child. Now, have you ever heard, give me a yes or no, have you ever heard them tell white kids that the only way you can learn is if you're sitting next to a black person? Have they ever told you that the only way you can get ahead is if a black person gives you a job? Like seriously, I mean, how many of you think about how many black people believe the only we cannot get ahead without permission from white people. We cannot feed ourselves unless a white person gives us a job. How often do they say that about you? How often do white people say, "Well, gosh, I'd like to feed my children, but I can't because black people won't hire me"? Does that happen? No, it doesn't. And it led to just a long conversation about a lot of things, why why black college graduates are broke. They graduate with these degrees from these white institutions and they have no businesses in their community, so the only thing they can do is go to white businesses and beg for a job. But those are not your companies. Those companies are owned and started and founded for the benefit of other people. So when you get integrated into a system, you're not going to be brought into the system um, in an empowered fashion. You're not brought into the system to run the system. You're brought into the system to be run by the system, to be used by the system. When they brought in black athletes into the major leagues, they weren't bringing black athletes in to become team owners. They brought black athletes in to add value to the team by being great athletes. When they integrate you into their corporations, they're not bringing you in to be the CEO. They're bringing you in so you could be the worker and make them wealthier. You see, they save the big piece of chicken for themselves, which makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense. I'm not even mad about it. When you understand it and you understand how logical it is, you realize that you shouldn't be mad about it. You just got to understand it so you know how you're being played like a sucker. They want integration because they need integration. They need you to be integrated because you're the sucker who will do all the work and ask for none of the credit. I'll give you an example. Let me give you an example. Do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button. Please hit the thumbs up, share, and subscribe button. And by the way, we do the Powernomics Masterclass each week, and we record every session. So if you want to join us, me and Dr. Claude Anderson and a small group of students, feel free to go to powernomicsmasterclass.com. It's really, really good. I think you're going to like it. Also, make sure you hit the notification bell and all that good stuff so you'll be notified when we go live. And if you want a free e-copy of my book, It Takes a Village to Raise the Bar, you can go to allblackeconomics.com. There's a URL right there on the screen. The book is totally free, and it explains my vision for the future of Black America. It's built on what I call the new paradigm for Black America, which is wealth, education, family, and community. So you can take a look at the book. It's very short, but it's a great read, and I think it's going to make a big difference for you and your family. So it's totally free. I don't want you to buy it. I want you to just take it. It doesn't cost you anything. It's right there on the URL's right there, allblackeconomics.com. So here's let me give you an example. Okay, so when I was at Syracuse, let me tell you, when I was at Syracuse, and I was on the faculty, I was an assistant professor at the time, and we would have faculty meetings, and we were looking to hire a new faculty member, right? And there was this guy who was applying for the job. Now, this is a white guy now, and he was going to be integrated into the faculty, but we had no real faculty positions. We weren't going to integrate him as the chair of the department or as a senior faculty member. We wanted to integrate him at the lowest rung of the ladder. The lowest rung of the ladder, the ghetto of academia, is to be what they call an adjunct professor. So we wanted to integrate this guy into the department as an adjunct professor. And let me tell you what happened in that meeting, how interesting the meeting was. When we talked about integrating him, everybody basically made a laundry list of all the bullshit that they did not want to do, all the horrible classes they didn't want to teach, all the workload that they wanted to dump on this poor guy because they knew that he was desperate. They knew that he wasn't as qualified as the rest of us, and they knew that he would do anything to keep that job. So we were going to bring this guy in. I swear to God, this is a true story. He was going to make half of what we made and teach twice as many classes. And he was going to teach the worst classes that nobody else wanted. And we even made jokes. I remember somebody made a joke saying something like, yeah, maybe he can sweep the floor too. Maybe he can clean our offices and dust off our desk while he's at it. Like, it was kind of like a joke. And I remember, and I laughed along. I'm not kidding. I laughed along too. Because I was like, oh, this is funny. Right now, of course, it was kind of insensitive. I ain't going to lie. But I'm just telling you, that's what happens when you get integrated into a system and don't understand why they want you there in the first place. Like if you have a bunch of dudes that are having a party and a pretty girl says, I want to come to your party too. Well, she's got to, and they say, yeah, girl, come on, we want you at the party. Well, she needs to start asking questions and say, like, okay, what does this entail exactly? Like, why am I being integrated into your party? What exactly are your plans for me? So what I'm saying is that for Black people, you got integrated into the party, but they wanted to integrate you at the lowest rung of the ladder. And basically, what they also wanted you to do was get rid of anything that you had in your community that actually gave you real hope or real power or real self determination. So that means that if we integrate you into our schools, we don't need Black schools anymore. That means we're going to fire all the Black teachers, get rid of all the Black principals, superintendents, everything else. Because why would you need Black principals and teachers and superintendents when you have white principals, teachers, and superintendents? If you want to integrate into jobs, sure, we'll bring you into our colleges. That means we're going to get rid of any colleges that are actually owned and run by Black people. But we do have these Black colleges that are started by white people, designed to train Black people to go work for other white people. Those are called HBCUs. But so you can go to one of those if you want. But for the most part, we don't need any real Black universities that are actually run by Black people, teaching Black people things that Black people actually need to know. That's why most HBCU graduates never learn powernomics the entire time they're there. They pretty much learn how to go work for white people. And go, you don't believe me? Go check out check out a lot of HBCUs and look at what they brag about. When they brag about their job placements, they will usually brag and say, so and so got a job at Merrill Lynch. So and so got a job at at some Jewish firm on Wall Street. Right, that's what they brag of. Somebody so and so got a job at such and such a corporation, but there's no conversation about ownership of anything that I see on a regular basis. So I will just say that integration was a failed strategy. Integration, and Obama is kind of a reflection of that. He even actually alluded to that when he actually gave the interview on the Breakfast Club. He actually compared himself to Jackie Robinson, and he said that when Jackie Robinson integrated into the Major League Baseball, he said that Jackie had to take some punches, take some maybe cleats to the leg or whatever, and he couldn't fight back. So what he's basically saying is this: he's saying, I am Jackie Robinson, and because I'm Jackie Robinson, and because I'm integrating, I can't fight back because the battle is it's a losing battle. I'm not equal to the white man. I'm integrating into inequality. So the question becomes also, when you're talking about equality, how can you ever truly have equality when you integrate it on the foundation of inequality? They didn't integrate you in as equals. They integrated you as subordinates. You didn't get invited. You don't get invited to these companies to become the CEO. You don't get invited. These athletes in the NFL, they're not invited in to become team owners. When college athletes go play for the NCAA, they're not being brought in as financial partners with the NCAA. The NCAA says, no, we'll keep the money. You get the prestige of knowing that we've acknowledged your petty Black ass because you ain't got shit to do anyway. You ain't worth nothing because you have no institutions in your community. You have nowhere else to play football. You have nowhere else to play basketball. So you can play basketball for us. And if you don't play with us, then you have nowhere to go because your community has no institutions. So if you want to know what Black people need, right? We don't need another Barack Obama. We don't. Barack Obama. I don't even care enough to really dislike the guy. I don't want to be too hard on the poor guy. He is what he is. He does what he does. I don't care. He's on Martha's Vineyard making his money. I don't give a shit about that. Barack Obama has proven something that's very important for you to understand. He's proven to you that he's not the solution, right? He's proven to you that Negroes with high-paying jobs are not the ones who are going to actually liberate the community. He's proven that, right? You had a Black president. Nothing happened. Everything's the same, right? He's proven to you that figureheads, Black politicians, are not going to be the answer. So the question then becomes, well, you might say, okay, Boyce, ask me in the chat. Everybody type in the chat. So, Boyce, what's the answer? So what's the answer, Boyce? Or answer. Type the word answer. Just type that in the chat, and I will give you the answer. All right, so here's the answer. The answer is that you must understand what power looks like and where power comes from. I had a conversation with my beloved Alicia today. We were out jogging, and I love this Black woman with all my heart. And we talk, and when we go running, that's our time to talk things through. I give her my undivided attention. We argue sometimes. We laugh. We we tell each other. We share secrets. We do all kinds of stuff during our runs, and it also keeps me from being fat. I'm not a real runner, but I run so I don't get fat. And what we were talking about today was we were talking about power. We started talking about Dave Chappelle. And we talked about when Dave Chappelle basically went to Netflix and told Netflix that you're running the Chappelle Show on Netflix, and it bothers me because Comedy Central did not pay me for those reruns, right? It made me feel bad. And because he told them to take it down, they took it down, right? Now, I said it's fascinating to me. If you pay attention, that was a power move on the part of Dave Chappelle. Why do I say that? Well, because I'm sure that there's some paperwork somewhere, there's some contract somewhere that Dave probably signed that says that Comedy Central and Netflix had every right to do whatever the hell they wanted. I'm sure, corporate reviewed the legal to make sure that they had the legal right to run Comedy Central reruns on Netflix if they wanted to, and that they own that content. But for some reason, when Dave Chappelle goes in there with his black ass and says, I don't like this, y'all need to take it down, they took it down. Well, why did that happen? I said to Alicia, I said, because that was a power move. I said, Dave Chappelle exercised his power. And power is interesting. And I'm explaining to you why Black people don't understand power, because we don't really have a lot of it. So we don't know what power looks like. We really don't. We hear terms like empowerment. We hear terms like equality. People who talk like that don't really understand power. Power doesn't give a shit about your rules. Power has one rule. The rule of power is because I fucking said so. Because I fucking said so. That's what power is. Dave Chappelle did not have, I'm sure he did not have any paperwork or any structural, foundational explanation for why he had some sort of legal right to make Netflix take down that Comedy Central episode. He had no right to that, I'm sure. Right? I'm sure they were well within their rights to do it, but Dave Chappelle said, take it down because I said so. And they took it down. And you see, what Dave Chappelle did to Netflix is exactly what the white man does to you. See, Black people run around here talking about, I know my rights. I know, protect your rights. Learn your rights. We need civil rights. And so we think that because we got these rules and rights and all this other shit that supposedly protects us, that's real protection. And then what happens is we end up shell-shocked when white America just comes in and says, I know you see the rules. I know what the rules say, but it's not going to go down that way. And you say, well, why? Because the rules, Black Lives Matter. The rules say, I know my rights. Well, they say, because I said so. Because I said so. When Bill Cosby, they had no legal grounding to send Bill Cosby to prison, none whatsoever. If you look at that trial, that was kangaroo court 2.0 and 3.0. They have no evidence on this man. They wrote in the contract they would never prosecute him. They paid that big ugly lady with the Adam's apple $3 million to make sure that the situation was resolved. It wasn't supposed to come up. They had nothing to prosecute him with, but they sent him to prison anyway. And their response basically is, because we said so. Because we said so. When you saw what happened in this presidential election, Joe Biden won this election despite the fact that he incarcerated over 100,000 Black men and destroyed millions of Black families, probably got a lot of people killed in our community, but yet people forgave him. He's got a son that's hooked on crack. His crackhead son got him involved in a business deal that is technically illegal, where his influence was being peddled in exchange for money. And Joe Biden is still sitting in the White House shining. Why? Well, that's power. Because he said so. Why is it that Joe Biden has some little white lady run around here screaming, Joe Biden raped me, he raped me. Me too, y'all, me too, right? The Me Too movement is supposed to come to her rescue. Me Too movement ain't paying no attention to none of that. Me Too movement suddenly shut the fuck down. They shut down fast because they didn't want Biden caught up in a rape charge, right? And literally you didn't hear anything from this lady, from the media, because mainstream media was in on it too. And literally their goal was to get Biden into the White House. And even if it meant shutting this lady down, they didn't care about whatever the precedent was. They didn't care about their previous slogans like believe women and all this other nonsense, right? They just said, because we're going to make this happen because we said so. That was a power move. That was a power move. I hope you understand what I'm saying. Sometimes I talk fast. Sometimes I say a lot. And I repeat myself a couple of times just to make sure the point gets across. It's to say that when you have real power, you don't really have a lot of rules. All rules are kind of arbitrary. No rules are mandatory. Because powerful people that actually design and shape institutions can kind of change the rules whenever they want to. So that's why with Black people, that's why you're in this horrible catch-22 where you've literally made white people into your gods. They become your gods because they control the institutions that you submit to, and you think that the rules of those institutions are going to protect you when you're actually competing with the gods who created the rules of those institutions in the first place. So if you think about this, if you want to get real nerdy with it, I used to play this game called Dungeons and Dragons when I was a kid. And in Dungeons and Dragons, it's a super nerdy game, but it was so much fun, and it was great for your imagination. And in Dungeons and Dragons, everybody had a character, and there was this guy, and I, one person would be like a knight, somebody else would be like a wizard, somebody else would be a warlock or some shit, or an elf, right? And you would go through these adventures, and there was one kid who would get to be the dungeon master. Did anybody play Dungeons and Dragons? Anybody? Give me a yes in the chat if you've even heard of Dungeons and Dragons. I hope I don't sound too old when I say this, because it's actually a cool game. I think you would like it. Give me a yes or no if you've ever played, or if you've ever seen it, or if you've ever heard of it. So with Dungeons and Dragons, everybody has a character that is in this little world, and this whole world is created by one kid who is called the Dungeon Master. The Dungeon Master is the guy who sits behind, he gets to sit behind a board, and he gets to basically change the rules. He can make up the world. He can do whatever he wants. If he wants you to be eaten by a dragon, then suddenly a dragon will appear, and it's going to be the biggest dragon ever, and the dragon will eat you and you will die, right? He gets to decide whatever's going on in this game. He becomes the god of that little world that you create with your friends. Well, basically, white people are kind of like your dungeon master. That's what they are. When you integrate it into their institution, this is not anti-white. There are probably white people listening. I got white friends that are scared of me when they talk to me. They don't know what to make of me. And I'm just kind of like, no, I actually understand you well enough to not hate you, because I'm not angry at you anymore, because I understand the game better than you do, and I know when to step the hell out of the building. Right. So I literally want you to just understand, if any of my white friends are listening, just know that I have enough power that I don't have a reason to hate you. I would only hate you if I was controlled by you. If you were my dungeon master, I might be mad at you, but I know enough to know that I don't even want to play the damn game. Right. So basically, when you integrate it into these systems, the reason that you're getting these "be patient, be calm" speeches, or from Obama, and the reason you're getting these speeches that say, well, this is the way you have to play the game, or this is the rules you have to abide by, or this is what you have to accept. This is the nonsense you have to accept. The reason you're getting those speeches is because you integrate it into a game where you let them become the dungeon master. And you don't even know enough about institutional development. Most of us don't, because we never taught these things. We don't know enough about the developments of systems and institutions to even know that we can create alternative systems. We don't even know that there's a world outside the world that we've committed to. So the dungeon master has all the power, which is why you go to church every Sunday and you're basically praying to Joe Biden. Joe Biden is your Jesus, because you're praying to Jesus to give you the opportunity to ever move forward or to advance in this society. You're praying to Jesus that one day you'll get the job that you want to get so you can make the money that you want. You pray to Jesus that maybe one day you'll be allowed to pursue a black agenda, that, Mr. Biden, we need a black agenda. Well, actually, it's funny. If you really think about it, you don't really need Joe Biden's permission to have a black agenda. You can do whatever you want. Right. So, but you don't know that. So effectively, integration was toxic for Black people, not because of not because of the concept itself. It was toxic because of the way it was done. If we were going to integrate, it would have been better to have integrated in terms of a partnership. If you integrated in a partnership capacity, then that could work. If you're talking about, like, for example, I'm watching the show Fargo right now. Chris Rock is starring in Fargo. I don't know Chris. I know his brother. But and I like his brother. His brother's cool. I would talk to him every now and then. And Chris is doing a great job on this show. And basically, they had the different gangs. They had the Jewish gang, then they had the Italian gang, and then they had the black gang. And the black gang, they all stuck together and they made a deal with the Italian gang, right? And it's not one of those things where they think they're going to integrate. It's not like them coming up and saying, "Hey, can you give us a job? Can we integrate into your gang?" No, they said, "Look, we got our people, you got your people, I got my family, you got your family, I got my kids, you got your kids. As long as you don't mess with me, I won't mess with you. But we can make a deal, we can do business, because we have to live in this world together." That type of integration I can roll with. I can rock with partnerships. What I cannot rock with is occupations and subordinations that are pretend partnerships, where you're being brought in a subordinated capacity, but yet they feed you a complete myth and an illusion of potential equality, and they want you to believe it. Their goal is to really play this game for as long as you'll fall for it, and unfortunately, a lot of our people do. So that's why you look at Obama and you feel like that's the best you can ever get. That's the best you can ever do. It's no different from somebody who could have been a multimillionaire by running a big business, but instead they're just their highest dream is to make $200,000 a year as a senior manager within somebody's company, because they don't even know that there's a bigger world out there. There are families out there where they don't even talk about working for other people. They literally raise their kids to basically know that whatever you're a part of, you're going to own a piece of that, right? So I think that in general, what you're dealing with is a self-esteem issue. I think that Obama, it's not his fault. Obama is being honest with you about who he is. Barack Obama is not a black man. He's not. He's a biracial man, and he's not a black man. He's a Democratic Party man. His loyalty is to the Democratic Party, and I think it's very important to understand that. So, being loyal to the Democratic Party does not mean that you're loyal to the black community. So you are different. You are B1. Hashtag B1 in the chat if you agree. Hashtag B1 means you're black first. Then you could be a Democrat. He's a Democrat first, then he's black. So he's a black Democrat, whereas you might be a black person who happens to be a Democrat. Also, when you talk about why Obama exists, and I made the joke that Obama should just stop talking. I don't know if he should stop talking. I think he can keep talking. I think he can keep selling books. He can keep making movies. He bought a gigantic, beautiful house in Martha's Vineyard. I'm happy for him and his family. But what I think that is the problem is that Obama is the big cosmic distraction. He's the big cosmic distraction that makes you think you're making progress when you're making no progress. You've become accustomed to running backward and thinking that you're running forward. And some Negroes just run in circles. And so ultimately, the question becomes, in 30 years, are we going to be having the same problems in 30 years that we're having right now? Well, that's very possible, because Malcolm X gave speeches in the 1960s about Negroes who run backward and think they're going forward. And literally, we do the exact same thing 60 years later. So I would imagine that if Malcolm X were alive today, or wherever he is, maybe they have a heaven for strong black people. So he's up in heaven right now, looking down and saying, "My God, it's 60 years later, and these people have not moved a damn inch. They have not moved an iota." So you must ask yourself, this is for intelligent people only who actually understand what I'm saying. You've got to say to yourself, what are we doing wrong? Where are we going wrong? Where are we being distracted? What are we doing with our time that ends up being a waste of time? And so what I'm seeing as an economic expert, and I think it's perfect that that happens to be my area of expertise, because that's just what our people need. Our people need an understanding of where power comes from. And in a capitalist society, most of your power comes from economics. So what I've actually said to you guys, and I say this over and over again, that if you want to make a major power play, like if you want to flip this motherfucker on his head, like if you really want to go kick white supremacy square in the nuts, train your children to be economic soldiers. Like, prepare them, because America ain't a terrible country all the way around. I'm sorry, I don't agree with you if you think America is just completely worthless. It's still the richest country in the world, or one of the richest anyway. I got to go see where we are compared to China, but there's opportunity here. A white man will never stop you from reading a book. They used to do that, but they can't do that anymore. A white man can never stop you from taking care of your kids. He can never stop you from starting a business. He can never stop you from elevating your mind. So all that is really kind of up to you. Right. So what I'm saying is, if you want to make the power play of a generation, I want us to make a cosmic power play that just knocks this fucking thing off the fucking hinges. And that power play is this: train our children to be experts in three key areas. One, stock market ownership and acquisition, the acquisition of assets. So that means they're buying stock as much as they're buying sneakers, fast food, or Beyonce tickets. Right. Number two, get them committed to the idea of owning real estate. They should be hungry for real estate. They should be fiending for real estate the same way we fiend for Def Comedy Jam, or whatever it is that we like. I know people don't watch Def Comedy Jam anymore, but all the stuff we fiend for online that's stupid, we should also fiend for things that are relevant and meaningful. So we should be having our children fiending for the acquisition of assets as a part of our culture, right? Like, okay, I'm renting this apartment now, but I'm not trying to buy no houses for my landlord. My number one goal is to own property as soon as I can. I won't be a man until I own property. Like, that's real. Like, that to me is power, is passion. That puts you in a position where you are in the driver's seat. Number three, we should be the best, most consistent entrepreneurs on the planet. We should also train our children to be experts, not just on starting businesses, but on building systems that involve delegation, partnership / relationship management / scaling, like knowing how to scale. So if you take a young black child that knows technology at a very high level, Don't send them to school just to become an engineer and go work for somebody. Send them to school to learn, to learn technology, but also make sure that they understand how to start a business so they can make that real money, right? And then if they know technology, and then they understand systems, and they understand delegation, how to form a team with other Black people and delegate to that team, then they can build a multi-billion-dollar company. So if you do that with your kids now, and then also on top of that, if we as a community are really committed to loving ourselves, like again, it's a self-esteem issue, right? Self-esteem gives you courage, right? It gives you the ability to say, F you, I don't care what you think about me. All that matters is what I think about me, right? So self-esteem gives you courage. Self-esteem also gives you commitment to self. So that means that if I have high self-esteem as a Black person, and I love who I am, and I love my people, and I love winning for my community more than anybody else. I don't hate nobody else. I ain't got time to hate nobody else. Hate is a petty, weak, pathetic emotion. So don't carry hatred for anybody. Just carry intense love in your heart for yourself. Then what's going to happen is you're going to want to go buy Black. Like, you're going to see your money as your power. You're going to see that 1.4 trillion we get every year as something that must be preserved, protected, grown, and reinvested in our own people. You're going to plant seeds in your own people because you'll see your own people as valuable. You'll see Black businesses as billion-dollar companies in the making, right? So you do those things. And that's where I got the acronym BASH, right? So BASH, and bash down the barriers and build Black Wall Street. So BASH, babe, I was telling them about BASH. I'm talking to Alicia right now. BASH was buy Black. The A, what was the A? Was the A assets? Assets. Was it acquiring assets? Mm-hmm. Okay. And then the S was for stock ownership, and H is home ownership. Okay. So asset acquisition. So buying Black, asset acquisition, stock market ownership, and home ownership. I think that if you do that, and you stick to that model, and you do that with your kids, then they're going to be incredibly powerful, and they're going to be so powerful that they won't care who's in the White House. Like, most wealthy people I know don't really, they win no matter what. And I'm just telling you, like, right now, rich people that, people that run big corporations and all that, they don't really necessarily, like, they might have a little bit of a preference of whether there's a Democrat or Republican in office, but they just kind of want to know which way the wind's blowing. People who understand asset acquisition just know which way the wind's blowing, so they can decide how to position themselves so they can benefit. So anyway, I got to go, guys. Please hit the thumbs up button, hit the share button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you'll be notified when we go live. And thank you for listening to me. I know sometimes I get started, I get pumped up, and I start rambling, but this is the type of stuff that goes on through my head. Every day I think about winning. Every day I think about fighting. Every day I think about how can I be a better Black man? How can we be a better Black community? How can we accomplish more? How can we get more done? Because time is short. This is our moment. We are making Black history. So let's get it. Let's get it in. Let's make it happen. So by the way, my Instagram right there is the real Boyce Watkins. Feel free to follow me on the gram. Text the word Boyce to 31996 if you'd like to get text notifications a couple of times a week. And also, we do have a Black business school for children at blackmillionairesfortomorrow.com. So feel free to go take a look at that. We cover real estate and entrepreneurship and everything else. So if you want to get your kids involved in the Black business school, send them to blackmillionairesfortomorrow.com. All right, guys, I'm out of here. Have a good night. And it's great talking to you. I love you guys. Peace.
Here we are, clan the isms, cataclysm great. Our people out here struggling, trying to make it in this state. Everybody out here doing it, but we the ones who late. Now family, we the ones who gotta delegate. Get that money in the power, never be fake. Stick to cosign for 3. What did he say? Create jobs, support our own. Educate the same and buy back your home. Got 3 degrees, triple 10. 3 PhDs, now we on the CNN. DrBoyceTV, let's talk about negligence. Ignorance is bliss, but we can turn it to intelligence. Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see. Let's break it down here on DrBoyceTV. Here we are.